Okay, good morning here at the Samanavshi Yeshiva here in Yerushalayim, Yer HaKodesh. We welcome you. It's the first year of the day. I'm Rabbi Shlomo Furst. We're located on Rehov Zikron Yaakov in the Chanukah Yeshiva's Beit Knesset building on Zikron Yaakov number 6. It's very close to the central bus station. You can drop in any time or give us a call or check in on our website and you'll see some more details. And happy to have you join us anytime you like. We're getting ready for for Hanukkah, and we're also contrasting Purim with Hanukkah and the other holidays of the Jewish year. We're going to be learning a bit of a Gemara here in Tainus on Daf Chav Ches. The reason for that is, as we know, Hanukkah was established by Chazal for Hodos and Halil, for thanksgiving and for praises for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for us, the Jewish people, particularly here in Yerushalayim and Eretz Yisrael during the time of Hanukkah. So part of our mitzvah observance during Hanukkah is to say Hallel, and it's a full Hallel. So I want to contrast that with the rest of the days of the year that we also say Hallel. So we have a Gemara here in Tainus, Daf Chav Ches Amid Beis. Sort of in the middle of the Amud, you have it there, a mimer in the name of Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shumin ben Yehod Tzadik. Shmona Aser Yom B'Shana Yachid Goymer Es HaHalel. There are 18 days in the year that an individual will say a full Hallel. Of Chav Ches in Tainus. Tainus to Chav Ches on the base. It's sort of about a third of the way down. Anyone like to read? The reading here is not so difficult. It's going to be listing the 18 times that during the course of the year we say a full Hallel. So it's basically going to be listing the days of the year that it comes up. Matazar, you want to give it a try?
Okay. Da Omer Rabbi Yechonan Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yehud Tzadik Shemuna Asher Asar Yom B'Shana Yichud Gomer Bahem Es Halel.
So you have 18 Shmona Asr, that's 18 Yom days, B'Shana of the year. A Yachid is Goymer Es Halel. He says a full Halel, as opposed to a partial Halel, which is, for example, on Rosh Chodesh is a partial Halel, Chol HaMoed Shel Pesach is a partial Halel. Okay? And Ve'elu Hein. And these are now the Gemara is going to list them.
Ve'elu Hein Shmonos Yemi Hachag.
Okay, so that's Shmonos Yemei Hachag. Chag in general, when you see the expression Chag in the Gemara, in Lashon Chazal, Chag is usually reference to Sukkot. Pesach is usually referred to as Pesach, and Atzeres or Shavuos is referred to that. Chag is in general usually a reference to Sukkot. So you have the 8 days of Sukkot.
Ushmanos Yemei Hanukkah Vayom.
Okay, you have another 8 days of Hanukkah. So far that's 16, right? 8 and 8, 16.
Vayom Tov Harishon Shel Pesach Vayom Tov Shel Atzeros.
Okay, so that's that. We'll know it. Okay, so you have the first 8, which is the 8 days of Sukkot, right? Then you have the 8 days of Hanukkah. Then you have Yom Tov Rishon Shel Pesach. That makes 17. Then you have Atzeres, right? Atzeres is Shavuos, right? That's referred to as Shavuos. So you have 18 right there. Okay, now the Gemara goes on and adds about what about in Chutz La'aretz, because they have extra days in Chutz La'aretz of second day Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz. They had a few more. Uvagoila.
Gola,
I mean that's the exile. Like Gola is Goila in the exile in Golas, outside of Eretz Yisrael.
Ashrim,
Esri.
Esrim, V'achad, Yom, V'elu, Hain.
Right, so in Gullus, in Chutz La'aretz, you have 21 days that you say Hallel in full. And these are them, Elohim, these are them.
Hasha'as, Yimei, Hachag.
You have Tisha Shemei Ahad. You have 9 days because you have an extra day of
Tishas, okay.
like
Yamei,
right. The
Hachag.
first in Eretz Yisrael it's 8 days of Sukkot. In Chutz La'aretz it's 9 days of Sukkot, meaning you have Simchas Torah, Shmini Yisrael as this last day, right? They add on an extra day for the second day, Yom Tov, right? So you have 9 days of Sukkot and Shmini Yisrael in Chutz La'aretz. That's the first 9 days.
Ushmonos, Yami, Hanukkah.
Okay, and you have in Chutz La'aretz you have 8 days of Hanukkah. Now, Agav, I will make a break because it's something which we may have time to discuss as we get closer to Hanukkah. It's maybe worthwhile spending some time on this. The question is somewhat apparent over here. We just got through saying you've got yourself 9 days of Sukkot in Chutz La'aretz. So you see in Chutz La'aretz you added a day. You see here, Hanukkah, you still have your 8 days. So you could ask the question, well, why don't we add a day for Hanukkah also? Those people in Chutz La'aretz keeping Hanukkah, they should be adding a day too. They added a day for Sukkot, they should add a day for Hanukkah.
Well, Hanukkah's not a Yom Tov.
Oh, so you might want to say that one's D'Oraisa, one's D'Rabbanan. And therefore, so when it comes to a question of D'Oraisa, right? So maybe we have to be more strict, more stringent, and therefore, if it's a question, so that's the general rule. General rule. Suffik D'Oraisa l'Chumra, Suffik D'Ramban and l'Kula. Right, the two general rules. Let's say you have
What did you just say?
Okay, I'll translate. Good question. Oh,
Morning. Good morning.
yeah, good morning, Tinus right over there. Okay. Oh, what's going on?
Told you we were crackers.
Well, okay. Good to see you again.
You are the man. Thank you.
No problem. What are we up to?
Okay, we're learning good
I
morning,
brought you a gift
Tinus.
today.
I'll
I
catch
brought
you
you a
up.
gift today.
Kindness?
Tinus, talk fast on the base. Right, it's sort of about a third of the way down. You have the Gemara there. If you want, you can read it up to catch up. We have the Amar Rabbi Yochanan and Shum Rabbi Shimon ben Yod Tzadok. You have it there. Shmona Asa Yom B'Shana Yachid Gomer Behem Esa Halel. You have it there about a third of the way down.
Chavtet?
Chavtet.
In the small lines?
Chav Ches.
Oh, Chavches, I'm sorry. Chavtet, yeah.
About a third.
Shmona Asa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can read that. That way you'll catch yourself up. Or I'll read it for you, whatever you prefer.
Shmona Asa Yom B'Shana.
Right?
Yachid Gomer Bahem Et Halel Ve'eluhem. Shmona Yimei Achad. Shmona Yimei Chanukah. V'yotom Rishon Shel Pesach. V'yotom Rishon Shel Atzeret.
Oh, so there you got your 18. 8 for Sukkot, 8 for Hanukkah, 16. First day of Pesach and the Yom Tov of Atzeres Shavuos. That gives you 18 in Eretz Yisrael. Ubegoyla,
Nagola Esrim Ve'echad. Yom Elohen Tisha Yom Echad. Shmona Chanukah. V'shnei Yamim Harishon Shel Pesach. V'beit Yom Tov Shel Atzeret.
okay, so 1 minute. So we have now in Goyla, in exile in Chutz La'aretz, you've got you have 21 days at the Goyim of the holiday. You have 9 days of Sukkot, right? You have 8 days of Hanukkah, 2 days the first days of Pesach, and you have 2 days of Atzeres. So that gives you 21. So we asked the question was, you see that in Chutz La'aretz we're adding on to Sukkot 2 days, right? And a day,
1 day
for Sukkot, 1 day. You're adding on a day for Pesach, and
day for
you're adding on for Shavuos, right? So the question is, why don't we add on a day for Hanukkah? Hanukkah in Chutz La'aretz, why should it be 9 days?
Because it was supposed to be 7 days, but they turned it to 8 days.
Well, I'm not so sure it was supposed to be 7 days.
Yeah, the whole thing was. The reason they did 8 days because they didn't want them to light a menorah with 7 branches. So they added an extra day for that.
Yeah, okay, one second, hold on. We that's a whole nother question. You're right. You're not supposed to light a menorah with 7 branches. That's correct. Absolutely true. Now, there are a lot
I
of
just
reasons.
heard that sure. That's why I.
Okay. There are a lot of reasons. One reason is given why it was 8 days because it's bris milah. They would go around bris milah.
Okay.
So bris milah. Oh wow! Shalom aleichem.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, come in. I heard you weren't feeling so well.
Hi. No.
Thank you, brother.
You still in that?
One other reason given, we're discussing this right at this particular point, why Hanukkah is 8 days. Okay? So, one other reason given is that they had to wait to get Shem and Zayis, which was Tohor. So there was a place 4 days of distance from Yerushalayim that they had a place where they would get the oil. So they had to travel 4 days to get and 4 days to get back.
Right.
That makes 8 days. So the Pach Shemen, the Pach Shemen that they had to burn for 8 days. And in fact, that's where it burned. So really, the reason why it's 8 days, because that's how long the miracle was. The miracle was 8 days.
But they had enough for one day.
Oh, so that's the famous question, we discussed it for a little bit, that's the famous question with Beis Yosef, right? What was in fact the miracle, right? It depends how you understand. If in fact you say that they had for 1 day, right? So if they put in the menorah, they found a flask of shemen with the chasima, with the seal of Kohen Gadol on it, and that was enough to last for 1 day. Right, 1 day, 1 night actually. So they put that in the menorah. If they put the whole thing in the menorah, right, so the first day is no miracle. No miracle in that. It burned, it had enough to burn for 1 night. It burned for 1 night. The days afterwards, it burned for 7 days miraculously. Okay? Or you could say finally the Pach Shemen was also a miracle, so that's why so. What did you hear this year? Go ahead. Why should it be 7 days? If the miracle was 8 days, why should they think about making it for 7 days?
The whole thing was just because there was one oil for 1 day.
There was enough oil for 1 day.
And the biggest problem that they said, I didn't remember the rest of it, but they said that because the menorah 7 days you're not allowed to light, so they made it 8 days, so there would be no question about the menorah.
All right. Well, to light a menorah of seven lights, that you couldn't do. So to avoid that, you make it for 8 days. Okay, you couldn't, but that's not the answer why you couldn't make it for 9 days. Once you're making it for 8 days. No, well, the question is like this: once you're making it for 8 days, right?
Okay.
So if that's what it is, it could be 100 days. In Chutz La'aretz, it has to be 101.
Right.
Because
You're right.
Right?
I agree with that.
Okay.
You're right. You have a good point.
Okay. All right. So Metziyahu gave an answer. He said, well, maybe because it's the Rabbanan, you don't have to be worried about it so much, right? And I explained to him, he might be onto a very good teretz, because we have a general rule, Safek D'Oraisa L'Chumra, Safek D'Rabbanan L'Kula. So now I was about to explain what those concepts mean to this year. Safek D'Oraisa L'Chumra means as follows, I'll translate, a doubtful Torah commandment, right? I mean, you're in doubt as to a Torah commandment, you must be stringent. For example, Birkas HaMazon, person a person ate and he was satisfied, and then the commandment is, you eat, you're satisfied, you have to bench. The D'Oraisa, it's a mitzvah D'Oraisa, right? One of the only brachas that we have, which is D'Oraisa. There's a machlokas about Birkas HaTorah, it's D'Oraisa, but according to everybody, Birkas HaMazon is D'Oraisa. So let's say a person ate and he was satisfied, and he's about 20 minutes or so after he finishes his meal, he's questioning to himself, did he bench or not? He cannot remember if he benched. He just cannot remember. But for whatever reason, he cannot remember he benched. So in that case, we say, you have a doubt in a Torah obligation, a Torah commandment, you must be stringent, and you must bench. You must bench. Even if you're in doubt as to whether you benched or not. It might be 8, so you might want to seek advice, and maybe wash again and eat another shear of bread, right?
You have to make a motion in that situation?
And that's if you, because you definitely had a Hesikadas.
Oh.
You definitely had a Hesikadas. The Hesikadas is, you definitely finished your meal. You finished your meal for sure. So, but really, if everything else being equal, right, everything else, I'm not posking halakha. I'm not posking halakha. I mean, a person has a doubt in terms of whether he had benched or not, whether simply without doing anything else, you should sit down and bench. That's a shayla halacha, right? You have to ask a rabbi if you have the opportunity to ask a rabbi what to do in that particular question if that comes up. But in theory, right? In theory, subject the rice l'chumah, you should be able to, and you should be obligated to bench a person. Rachmin, we're just in the middle of a point here. We're talking about subject the rice of the chumrah and subject the rabbanim l'kula. So I'll give you an example of Birkus HaMazon. I'll give you another example. Let's say he it's Sukkot, first day Sukkot. He cannot remember if he took lulav and esrog or Rosh Hashanah. He cannot remember if he heard shofar, right? So in those cases, right, you can get somebody to blow for you, or if you know how to blow for yourself, you can blow the shofar yourself. You don't have to make a bracha, right? You have a subject whether you did the mitzvah d'oraisa. If you have a question as to whether or not you did the mitzvah d'oraisa, you must go ahead and do the mitzvah d'oraisa as if you didn't do it at all, because it's subject d'oraisa l'chumrah. Doubt in a Torah obligation, you must be strict to fulfill it. So you must take the lulav and esrog and hadas and aravos if you're in doubt as to whether or not you picked up and did the netilas lulav on first day sukkahs. You heard shofar on the first. If you sat in the sukkah, did you sit in the person? You know, he's a first night sukkahs. He's in a daze, and he can't remember if he ate a kazayas of pas in the sukkah that night. He's he's in daze, whatever, who knows what happened to him, right? And he doesn't know. So he has to find himself a sukkah, has to find himself a kazayas of bread, and he has to go into the sukkah. Now whether he should make a bracha, that's another rule. Suffik brachas l'kula, that's another question. But in terms of going into the sukkah and eating the kazayas, yes, he must do that. He must listen to shofar. He must pick up the lulav and esrog, even though he may have done it before, but he can't prove to himself definitively that he did. He must be stringent. Suffik d'oraisa l'chumrah, he must be stringent in a doubt of a Torah obligation. When it comes to a rabbinical obligation, lighting menorah is medivri Kabbalah. It might be a little bit higher than a stam regular Durabanan. We'll discuss that more as we get closer to Hanukkah. Another Durabanan, he had a question as to whether or not all brachas are Durabanan. So that's one reason why I say Sabbath brachas l'kula, right? Sabbath brachas l'kula. If you don't know if you made it again, let's say he can't remember if he made a bracha on his coffee. Right? So you just can't shoot out another bracha. I don't know, I have to shoot. You can't shoot. You have to find some type of a way of getting around the question. Right? It's a question. You cannot go ahead and, that's because it's a bracha, so you have to treat that could be a problem of a bracha levatala, which could be a question of a deraisa filu. Right? But going back to Hanukkah, let's say menorah. A kumva aseh, he wants to do a mitzvah aseh midurabanan. He's not sure if he lit menorah. Right? Well, let's say he didn't know he had enough oil in it to last the proper time. So it's a suffix in the Durban, and it can be mekel. I mean, he's not obligated to go unrepeated. Right? So, going back to our question here about Hanukkah, we'll spend the time on this maybe as we get closer to Hanukkah, maybe next week. The question is basically, why isn't Hanukkah 9 days? Now, we see in Chutz La'aretz, you have to keep 9 days of Sukkot, that's including Shmini Aseres and Simchas Torah, Chutz La'aretz. You have to keep 2 days of first day Pesach. You have to keep and the second last day Pesach also. You have to keep 2 days Shavuos. Right? So you see that they're choishish because of the calendar, the setup of the calendar. That you have to keep 2 days. So why don't we add on another day of Hanukkah, right? To keep 9 days. And in fact, there are opinions that in fact when the Beis HaMikdash was Kayyim, And then when Machadish, the Chodesh Al Peiriya, through the Eidim coming and testifying and based in Yerushalayim, there were opinions that they, in fact, they did keep 9 days Hanukkah in Chutz La'aretz. Right? But it could,
Why did it go away?
no, there were opinions that they did. Opinions were, as I said, maybe we'll discuss more about this. I have to prepare more on that subject to go into it in detail, right? But there are opinions that, and the question is asked. If I'm not the Hassan Sofer asked the question, why don't we even today? Why don't we keep an extra 9th day? But Matisyahu's answer could possibly be the most basic and truthful answer, since it's a shaila, it's a doubt in a durabanan. So we can be makel.
This may seem silly. How do we know what's from the Torah and what's from the rabbis?
Oh, so basically, once you've learned the Gemaras and you understand the basis, all halakhas, right, have a makur, a shorage, a root, right? They all have a root. The root will be whether it's a pasuk in the Torah itself. It could be based on tikanas of Chazal or the Anshe Knesses Gedolah. Every time you're learning Shulchan Aruch, right, the source and the makor, the root, is always referenced. You always have a reference. So based on the reference, you can understand where whenever we learn, that's in the Gemara, showing you the Ayin Mishpat, that shows you where these halachas are in Shulchan Aruch. See, on one you have a spectrum here. You have a spectrum that starts with the Torah, right? Har Sinai, Kadosh Baruch Hu to Moshe Rabbeinu, and it extends all the way down to Shulchan Aruch and the commentaries on Shulchan Aruch. Okay, that's your spectrum. So you have Chumashim also, that they will give you a explanation of a commentary of the Torah based on particularly where the halachas are found in the Rambam, right? So based on the Parshas Shavua, you'll be able to see that the Rambam is listed all these mitzvahs that have been mentioned in the Torah, right? You have in Shulchan Aruch, you have the parish which is called the Bir HaGoyle. Every time we learn Mishnah Berurah, I'll show you in a few minutes, when we learn Mishnah Berurah, there's a little commentary up on the outside column on the right side in general, or on the outside upper corner, called the Bir HaGoyle. And basically that's his job was, in general, to show you either basically in the Gemara or in the earlier commentaries in Halacha, where the source of this Halacha in Shulchan Aruch is. So within this spectrum, you can always find the source of what the halacha is. So sometimes you may have a halacha deraisa, you may have a halacha midrabanan, maybe from minhag, which has been developed from the poskim over the years, right? And all the way down onto the Mishnah Berurah, and even then you have commentaries on the Mishnah Berurah, and you have poskim bizman hazeh, which are deciding halachas. And that becomes the general rule, depending on its general acceptance or not. But you always know exactly where the source is. It's always very important to know the exact source of your halacha. From where is it generated from? And what is the basis of the halacha?
Okay, thank you.
So if Chanukah is the midrabanan, then what are you saying when you say Baruch to Hashem?
Very good question. Well, this is a general question, right? Whenever we have a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, right, we always say the same bracha, the same basic bracha that we say when we say take a lulav, al netilas lulav, right? Take near Hanukkah, the same format of the bracha, because Kadosh Baruch Hu, in fact, and it's derived from the Torah, gave the reshus and the power to the Rabbanan, coming for each generation, to institute halachas, commandments, laws, enactments, and fences around the Torah. So they're just acting as the agency of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So it's really they're fulfilling the Ratzon of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? And therefore it's the tzivoy of the Kadosh Baruch Hu that we listen to the Chachamim, right? So when we're doing something which is Medurabanan, right, we're also fulfilling the Ratzon of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore we can say the bracha, Sheker Shana B'mitzvah Savitzivanu, right? Al Mikra Megillah, Al Neres Hanukkah.
So based on that, maybe Hanukkah should be 9 days. Should be 9 days.
Oh, so in fact, possibly true. Meaning it really, in when it comes to what we call Lamaisa, in the world of reality of what we're doing, we're actually doing something which is the Ratzon of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We'll go into this in more detail next week. But, and I mentioned this already, that the Chasam Sofer, he in a certain way learns that Hanukkah and Purim are also Doraisa. Why Hanukkah and, Shalom Aleichem.
Can't turn down an invitation.
Amen.
We're in the middle of a couple of different shilas here, just to catch you up really quick. The main shilah we were discussing is why isn't Hanukkah 9 days? Okay? Now, why should Hanukkah be 9 days? Right? So I'll answer that by saying it depends where you live. If you live Baruch Hashem in Eretz Yisrael, right, so it's going to be 8 days, no problem. But if you live in Chutz La'aretz, so why shouldn't it be 9 days, right? Because we're learning the Gemara here in Tanis. We're going back to the Gemara in Tanis. We started learning very earlier this week that in Eretz Yisrael there are 18 days during the year that a Yachid is Gomer as a Haleh. In Chutz La'aretz there are 21 days that a person says a full Haleh. Yeah? So we added on extra days to Sukkot, to Shavuos, and to Pesach. But Hanukkah we didn't add any days on. So that based on this Gemara you can ask the question, the focus of the question is very clear here. Right? So therefore, we added on extra days in all the other holidays in Chutz La'aretz except for Hanukkah. So the question is, why not in Hanukkah? So I mentioned, and I'll go into in more detail next week, we netted, that there are those who explain that at one time in history there were, in places in Chutz La'aretz, that if they wouldn't get the messengers coming from Yerushalayim that would tell them that the Rosh Chodesh was Miskadesh, either Bisman or when it was Moli or Chaser, and they didn't know, they were still in doubt as to when the Rosh Chodesh was, they would in fact keep 9 days. But we said in general, Matisyahu gave a very nice explanation, perhaps why not, because we might say since Hanukkah is Midurabanan, maybe we'd say the general rule of Safik Durabanan, the Kula, we don't have to keep an extra day, right? So based on that, Mordechai asked another question. He says, well, we say the same bracha, Sheker Shana B'mitzvah Savitzivanu, Lavik Ner Shel Hanukkah, just like we say Sheker Shana B'mitzvah Savitzivanu, L'shmoyer Kol Shofar, right? So we make the same bracha, the same text, the same format of bracha, Sheker Shana B'mitzvah Savitzivanu, on the Durabanan and on the Raisa. So we were just explaining that really the power to enact new mitzvahs and to create new decrees, fences around the Torah was given to the Chachamim through a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So when we keep a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, right, and even when it comes to Shabbos, being not to do certain things, many halachas are d'Rabbanan in Hilchos Shabbos, Hilchos Yom Tov, many things in other halachas also in Basar V'Chalav, Yeridea, Hilchos Ribbis, many things are with d'Rabbanan. Right, the Chazal gave us fences, right, to keep away from getting close to being Hashem Shalom, violating the pure command of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So we have a lot of fences around the Torah. So we don't want to transgress those fences. We don't break through those fences either. So when we observe those fences or we fulfill those mitzvahs that are mitzvah, we're also fulfilling the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So we can say Hashem Kedushan Mitzvah Mitzvah on a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, just as we can say on a mitzvah d'Oraisa. So that basically catches it up to where we are right now, and that is about all the time we have today. I'm going to switch over to Mishna. Okay.